Hello everybody, this is your good friend TheMovieCuban here once again with another patch 2.4.2 build guide for the monk class. Now, so far I've shown you the raiment generator build and then the wave of light build, which as I mentioned wasn't the greatest. The setup I was running only let it run about Torment 10 before capping out. But today I'm going to go over another build that was popular back when they first retooled the Enos set. And so this is my 2.4.2 Ina Monk build. So I hope you guys enjoy that. You will notice that I'm running it a bit differently than people were running it before, and I'll comment on that as we go through it. So let's go ahead and start out this time by talking about the skills. For our generator, we're going to use Crippling Wave Mangle. This is not only is this one of the hardest hitting spirit generators that we have, but it also does a impairing effect on enemies. So if you're running Bane of the Trapped, that'll automatically assist you with getting that extra damage bonus. And of course, because we're running Ina's, we're going to have Mystic Ally. I leave it unruined just because you'll get all of the allies from the set, but I'll talk about that when I go over gear. I'm using Dashing Strike Radiance because of the increased attack speed. If you feel like you're okay for attack speed and you're a little bit more worried about survivability, then you can go ahead and change this to a Blinding Speed to give you that increased dodge chance. We're going to run Epiphany Desert Shroud because this is basically a staple for every monk build. We're going to run Cyclone Strike Implosion to give us the ability to pull in enemies. And then for some added survivability, we're going to go ahead and run Mantra of Salvation Agility so that you can just get some increased resistances and dodge chance. For passives, we're going to run Alacrity, Harmony, Exalted Soul, and Unity. And if you choose to run a Hellfire Amulet like I did, then you're going to want Beacon of Etar or one of these four passives on that amulet. So for gear, we're running 5 pieces of Ina's paired with the Ring of Royal Grandeur in the cube to give us that full 6-piece bonus. The 2-set bonus for Ina's makes it so that the passive effect of your Mystic Ally and the base effect of your mantra is basically just doubled. You know, it says increased by 100%. That just means it's doubled. So if you were running Air Ally, for example, you would regen 8 spirit passively as opposed to just 4. The 4-set bonus gives you the power of all 4 mantras at all times, which is really good for survivability and pumping out a little bit more of that extra damage. But the 6-set bonus is what I really like, because you gained the 5 runed Mystic Allies at all times, and your damage is increased by 50% for each Mystic Ally you have out. So that's already a significant damage bonus in itself, but pairing that with what we're going to be using is going to make both you and your Mystic allies just hit like an absolute truck. Now, you'll remember we're running Unity, so every ally affected by your mantras increases your damage by 5%, up to a maximum of 20% and has 5% increased damage. So you're basically just powering up not only yourself, thanks to those allies, you get an additional 20%, but they all also do 5% more damage themselves. We are going to run two pieces of the Raiment of the Storm set, and this is just so that we can take advantage of the increased attack speed and damage for your spirit generators, since we are running the Shenlong Fists. So our spirit generators are going to be the main source of our damage. Hellfire Amulet over here. As you can see, that's where I've got my Beacon of Etar passive. I'm running the Golgok of Swiftness in here just to give me even more attack speed and then dodge chance, as well as some cooldown reduction so that I can hit Epiphany and Mystic Ally a little more often. For bracers, we're going to run Bindings of the Lesser Gods, so that enemies hit by your Cyclone Strike take a certain percent more damage from your Mystic Ally for 5 seconds. I know that there was a build for Ina's that was going around that relied basically on you exploding palm everything, and then you would hit Cyclone Strike and then Mystic Ally and just watch everything blow up. And I admit I did run that for a while, but that's not what we're going for on this. I mean, it's kind of like that, but we're not using Exploding Palm. For my rings, I am using a Unity with the Bane of the Trapped so that I can take advantage of that damage boost because of the control impairing effects that not only Bane of the Trap's secondary ability will give me, but also that Mangle is going to give me for my Crippling Wave. And then I'm using the Band of the Rue Chambers. This was released, I believe, in 2.4 or 2.41, and it makes it so that your spirit generators generate a percentage of more spirit between 40 and 50. This is basically just to lower the amount of time, theoretically, that you are outside of that Shenlong window, since it is kind of hard to keep up the Shenlong window if you're not super careful or you're not always surrounded by density. So this is just a way to help us combat that. And of course we're running Simplicity's Strength so that we can increase the damage of our Crippling Wave and get a little bit of healing every time we hit something, which is honestly really nice. In the Kanai Cube, we are running the Flying Dragon because, as with all Shenlong builds, the faster that you can hit things, the more you can generate spirit, and thus the more damage that you do. In the armor slot, we're running the Crudest Boots to double our Mystic Allies, so that you have not 5 Mystic Allies, but 10. And that will increase the amount of damage you do thanks to the Enos set. And then of course the Ring of Royal Grandeur in the ring slot. So, now that we've gone over the gear and whatever, Paragon points, you're gonna obviously you're gonna want to max out your movement speed and your spirit, because the more spirit you have, the more damage you do with Shenlongs. And then just dump everything into dexterity. Honestly, for the next 3 tabs, it's the same song and dance. crit chance and crit damage, then attack speed and cooldown reduction for your offense, resist all and armor, then life and life regen for defense, and then area damage and resource cost reduction, followed by life per hit and gold find for the utility tab. So this build is decent at climbing the greater rifts, but for our purposes here, I'm just going to show you what I've been using the build for, and that has been a Torment 13 farming build. So we'll go ahead and run a GR 60 here. And you've got to be careful because, as you know, the more spirit you have during the Shenlong window, the more damage you do. But the instant that your spirit starts dropping, so will your damage. So be careful to keep an eye on that, because the last thing you want to do is end up with very little spirit, which is, as you can see, that's where the Band of the Root Chambers comes in real handy. Even if I start getting near the bottom of my spirit pool, I can just hit them a bunch and then I'm right back up there. Another another thing I've been thinking about, honestly, is there is another rune for the Crippling Wave skill that makes it so that you regen spirit every time you hit something. And I'm thinking between that skill and the Band of the Root Chambers, you could probably get pretty close to permanent, like, max spirit. I feel like that would be feasible. Whew. Did not want to get caught in that. I hate those moltens. Always having to dodge around the explosions. This rift's pretty lousy for density. I don't usually have this much trouble finding enemies in a greater rift. But as you can see, I don't really worry about dying. That's the big joy with Ina, is that you get ungodly toughness from those mantras. So the only thing I really ever worry about are enemies with like really shitty affixes. You know, like poison or molten. Usually I can even deal with like the frozen enemies. So you just sit back and punch things till they die. Um, One of the alterations for running Enos, in addition to uh, the build I talked about that Quinn69 did, if you're curious about that, I'm sure it's still up on his channel. You can go ahead and check him out. But if you don't want to run a Hellfire Amulet and the Band of the Root Chambers, then to pump out a little bit more damage as well as getting a little bit more damage mitigation when you're on the fly, you can certainly consider using the Endless Walk set instead. So the Compass Rose Ring and the Traveler's Pledge necklace. Because with how often you're standing still like this, that constant 100% damage increase until you move again does help out. Especially when you're surrounded by density like that. Like, holy shit, I cannot even see my character right now. There we go. I mean, this build isn't going to. It's not going to win you any speed awards. Um, if you're looking to clear things ridiculously fast, this is definitely not the setup for you. But if you want to farm like Torment 13 and you don't want to have to spend a lot of time worrying about dying, this is definitely a good way to go about that. And as I say that, I almost die. Look at me being a hypocrite. but but I mean, I'm more of a casual Diablo 3 player. I don't do like seasonal. I don't I don't look to climb the ladder or anything. I'm just a guy who enjoys the game. I see these setups and I test out these builds, or I see builds that other players are doing and then I tweak them around a little bit. And I feel like it just offers a little bit more variety so you're not just constantly looking for you're not constantly just watching all the big wigs who are like, oh, you need this gear and these skills, and that's the only way you're gonna get someplace. Because for people like me who don't do this competitively, watching everybody play the same builds gets boring, and I'm willing to give up a little bit of that speed if it means that I can have a play style that I enjoy. And I always enjoyed Shenlong, even with it getting a debuff in the last patch. I still enjoy the playstyle because having a full generator build is fun. Um, if you wanted to increase your damage a little bit more without the use of the endless walk set, then you could probably you could trade in the two pieces of the Raymond set and go with Lefebvre's Soliloquy for your bracers. Those are the Cyclone Strike bracers that give you damage reduction every time you use Cyclone Strike. And then you can put your crudest boots on, like your character, and you can throw the Depth Diggers in the cube to give your generator a little bit more damage. So honestly, it's up to you. There are a whole bunch of options you have out there. Don't let me limit you in your imagination about what you could or couldn't run, because it's all up to you. It's your game too. You can come up with builds just as easily as I can. This is our game. People like you and me are the ones who make this game what it is. People like us and Riker and Quinn and Big Daddy B and all those. So if you feel like you can put it in a build, then put it in a build. Because I'm just a regular Joe, and I make videos in my spare time. And if I can do it, then you can do it. So if you feel like you've got a build that's really interesting, or you've just got something that's a different way of looking at things, then you can go ahead and upload your own videos too. And the community will be better for that. So as you can see, that is a Torment 13 Greater Rift run right there. I thank you guys for taking the time to sit here and watch the video. But that's all I have for you right now. So until I see you guys again, happy playing. TheMovieCuban out.